What I'm going to talk to you guys tonight about is going to be about gay marriage. And we heard this speech at first about how there would be economic benefits and everything going out throughout the country. The one problem with that is the Defense Against Marriage Act, which was passed in 1996, that doesn't allow federal recognition of gay marriage, and it defines marriage as between a man and a woman. So what I'm going to be rebutting is that there are alternatives such as civil unions and domestic partnerships that offer similar advantages as would marriage, but are on a state level, so that they're represented by the state. So for my secondary claim, I'm going to say that, for one, civil unions and domestic partnerships have similar benefits to heterosexual marriages and are more widely accepted, and they're on a state level, and also that the economies of the states are better affected by those than by marriage because they're better supported. So in recent polls, going back to my first claim, we have seen an increase in the support for actual civil unions instead of marriage because of what marriage represents to most people. They would think of it as between a man and a woman, not between a woman and a woman or a man and a man. So we've seen an increase, according to the Pew Research Center, as of October 9, 2009, of about 57% of people supporting this. So that means that marriage is still protected in the sense of the word, but also homosexual people still have advantages and rights given to them by the state. Also, the Constitution doesn't really give any clauses. So in terms of the general sense of the United States, they don't say, hey, yeah, you have to support gay marriage, not saying that that's not a bad thing to support. But. And then in 1996, like I mentioned before, since the passing of the Defense Against Marriage Act, it does not allow for federal recognition of gay marriage, so it would have to be overturned by the Supreme Court, something like that. Also, civil unions are being offered in the United States in a few states right now. There's Vermont, Connecticut, New Jersey, and New Hampshire, that as far as the beginning of 2000 to late 2000 that are offering these civil unions that give you the benefits of the state similar to state-instituted marriages. So you get like adoption, because sometimes in different states they don't allow homosexuals to adopt jointly. I mean, you could have a single parent that can adopt, but then you can't jointly adopt a child, so they have step-parent adoption and everything. And the domestic partnerships in states like Oregon and California and the District of Columbia and Washington also offer the same benefits as they would for a married couple that are on the state level. So you could also get some of the benefits from your partner that's working in facilities so that you're not kind of left out, and you can also file some taxes, not the federal taxes, but the state ones also. And moving on to my second claim, that state economies and adoption of children would still benefit. Since parents can adopt separately, and then they have, like in California, for instance, step-parent adoption, where they can still adopt the child, they still can have joint custody of that child and still be recognized as legal parents. And also, the civil unions and domestic partnerships would increase weddings. It doesn't have to be just, I'm getting married, I'm going to have a party. You can still have that union, just like in common law marriage. You can still celebrate, and you can still get revenue for your state. So in conclusion, homosexual couples don't need the actual marriage appointed to their union to make them valid.
Thank you. All right. Basically, you're making counterclaims on two of the issues: the availability of an alternative to marriage, and you defend civil unions and domestic partnerships. And then there's some discussion about the potential benefits. you are partially following the structure of the advocate, but it sounds like you've created your own structure here that you're going to use, and you need to make your sentences a lot more declarative so that we know what the claim is and how it should be contrasted to the advocate's claim. It's a little bit hard to follow with the language. Your signposting was okay. There's one piece of information about the support for civil unions. There's a whole description of what civil unions and domestic partnerships are, but there's not any evidence that you cite on that. And I'm not doubting that you've given us an accurate description, but you want to make sure that you give us the source for those descriptions to enhance your credibility on that point. On the adoption issue, again, you present several arguments about states' rules, about how domestic partnerships and civil unions might address those issues. What I don't get is any discussion of the advocate's proof on this particular point. There's no explanation about whether or not the advocate presented evidence, whether or not their analysis was sound, and so it's a little bit hard to contrast your alternatives to what the advocate was saying here. It's pretty well, like I said, organized from your point of view, but it's not necessarily clear in contrast to the advocate's point of view. All right, thank you.